Hello, hello everybody. Unless somebody pressed a bunch of emotes, it gave me a burst of things in the chat. I am running woefully behind. What have we got? Hey Silva, how are you doing tonight?
ZipRecruiter uses
Why?
powerful matching technology to screen.
Okay, that's loud. Yeah. It's funny, I use YouTube in order to stream the Lofi Girl playlist for background music, and because the ad blockers aren't allowed anymore, booting up the thing booted up the ads. I'm doing, like, I had a productive day. I'll go into more detail later. It's just been, there's just a lot of stuff going on for me. Let me let people know that I'm live. All right. Let everybody know that I am live. Oh my gosh. That's funny. I posted in the Zoids Discord. Be like, I'm so earlier today, like a couple hours ago. I'm like, yo, I'm so torn. I don't know if I want to do more Zoid Saga DS on stream or if I want to do a writing stream. And nobody said anything. So I was like, I'm gonna do a writing stream because I want to actually get this done, right? And someone commented like 20 minutes ago, even though I made the post like 6:30, right? Um, someone posted just like 20 minutes ago, be like, do the Saga DS. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh well. Oh well. Let's get some writing done tonight. Let me let people know. Right. So I did not get a chance uh to like post to all the places that I was gonna go live because um uh uh because my friend, as I was getting ready to do this, my friend's kid was like, "Hey, let's go brush our teeth together." My friend that I live with, and the kid wants to brush teeth with me, wants to brush their teeth with me, right? And they enjoy spending time with me. but like I was just so busy today that I didn't have time to brush my teeth earlier. And like at first I was brushing my teeth at like 7 o'clock, right? And now the kid wants to brush their teeth at like 8 o'clock, and I'm in the middle of like getting ready to do stuff and doing stuff at 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna have to set a hard deadline and be like, listen, I brush my teeth no later than 7:30. But okay. 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 All right. Alrighty, let me get. I got. There we go. I've posted. Alright. Okay. Let me get my model booted up. I do things in such chaotic ways. Let's bounce over to just chatting. Hello, everybody. Hey. Alrighty. Ah. Why did I get tagged in another Bitcoin scam? I don't know what Nabiru's up to. My theory is that Nabiru has that, like, while we make jokes about Nabiru being yabai, that like this whole time Nabiru is secretly this like super capable, super awesome person with like some kind of like amazing job, and like we know Nabiru as the yabai anime gremlin, but in reality Nabiru is like some kind of like secret agent that like saves the world in between watching anime. That's my headcanon. That everything about the whole everything about the whole being an anime gremlin is just, it's like it's what she does in her spare time, but like when it's not her spare time, my headcanon is she's like off like saving the world. I know it's silly, but headcanon is generally pretty silly. So sometimes you just got to embrace the silliness. You know what I mean, Silva? Ooh. Oh my god. So I tagged my probably lost track of time. Yeah. I'm telling you, she lost track of time because she's so busy saving the world. She's like so busy being out there saving the world. She might even be saving the galaxy. What if Nabiru is a mech pilot in some kind of an intergalactic like Green Lantern Corps kind of thing? It's gonna be funny. Nabiru shows up and we're just like talking about random headcanons about like what Nabiru's up to. But yeah, today was productive. So I had to go handle my money stuff that I have to do every month because I receive temporary disability assistance, and I have to take that off of my my EBT card and load it onto my debit card. But my bank I use is an online bank that doesn't have physical locations or ATMs. So the only way for me to put the money into my bank account is to like get the cash and then go to a CVS and reload the card and deposit the cash. Like I have to pay like a $4.95 like thing, but like I just do it all at once. So it's like it's essentially an additional monthly fee for me, which is annoying because I already have to pay the $8 some odd monthly fee because Uber doesn't have a contract with them anymore. And yeah, there was this whole thing. One of these days I'm gonna go back to whatchamacallit, not Chase. There's some bank. That's like a check mark logo. What? Gosh. Uh, it's like 360 checking. Oh my god. Oh. Capital One. Yeah, there's because there's a Capital One near me. So the thing is, I owe Capital One money from a credit card that I wasn't able to pay on, and from years ago, and from there was an issue with my bank account where, see, there was this thing that happened with my Capital One bank account that was really frustrating, right? And like, it shouldn't have been happening, but like, I needed to, like, to some degree, I let it happen, and there are definitely things that I could have done to make it not as bad as it was, but I was really struggling with intrusive sleep, with diabetes, and with a lot of my mental health stuff, so I just wasn't in the right headspace to manage everything, and I was just desperate to get by. But Capital One, I don't know if it was just me or if it was because the bills I was paying, but it would do this thing where, like, a pile of my transactions would suddenly get reversed and money added back into my bank account for no apparent reason, and then it would recharge the bank account the next day. And like, it was kind of ridiculous, because it was processed as brand new transactions. And so I had that happen, and I spent money, and like I said, a lot of it was my fault because I thought I was going to get the money in order to have everything back, but then I ended up not being able to get the money to have everything back. And then when those new transactions came through, got hit with a pile of overdraft fees, and I just didn't have the money. I could not afford to pay all those overdraft fees, so I just got a new bank account with somebody else. And it was at a period of my life where I was doing stuff I wasn't really proud of to survive. Just because I was struggling with trying to get money because I couldn't hold a job. Still can't, but like at that time, I was actually spending more money than I was making to survive. And that's kind of sad. But anyway, I'm still straightening out all the problems I have from that period of my life. And it's a ride. But anyway, so I had to go out and do that, and then I got food, and I got home and I dealt with my phone bill. So I'm with Mint Mobile. I realize I'm like talking about lots of like financial things and like things about like my financial decisions and stuff in my life, but like this is a big part of my life, and I'm not sharing like personal information about like here's my bank account number, but like it's just what I did today. And I'm with Mint Mobile, and I always recommend Mint Mobile to anyone who is like budget conscious. As long as Mint Mobile actually has service in your area, and you can get a phone that's eligible for Mint Mobile, I recommend it. I'm not sponsored by them, but I can give out friend codes or referral codes that can get you like free minutes and stuff if anybody is ever interested in switching over to Mint Mobile. But I do their cheapest plan. Well, not the cheapest, second to cheapest. It's the lowest tier plan, but instead of getting it in 12-month chunks, I get it in 6-month chunks. And so I bought that today, right? And I had this issue, I think I mentioned it on stream before, where my phone at like a couple days ago had disconnected from my home network. And I had been watching videos for, I think it was like a couple days of just using my phone, watching videos, browsing the internet, not on my home network, and using my mobile data, until I got a text message that said, hey, you've used 80% of your data for the month, and we were 4 months into the billing cycle. And I was like, 4 days in, and I just used 80% of my data. Holy cow. And I was really nervous about it because I had just under a gig left, and I'm like, I could theoretically make it, but like, I was like, I don't want to get caught in a situation where I need Discord, where internet goes down, where I need to send an email, where I need to make a phone call, where I need Google Voice, where I need something, and I don't have it because I have just under a gig of data. So I bought some more data. It was a decent chunk. I bought, and the thing is, it's really frustrating, is that like with Mint Mobile, it used to be like 4 or 5 gigs were like $15, right? But that was also back when the starter plan was only 4 gig. But when they got bought by T-Mobile, the starter plan moved up from 4 gig to 5 gig. And apparently they made up that cost by now buying additional data is more expensive. It's $15 for 1 gig and $20 for 3 gigs. And I was like, holy cow. So, but I did what I had to do. Now I have spare data. I make sure I'm connected to the network now. But I have spare data that should last me through the month in case anything happens. And it's kind of frustrating because the extra data I bought doesn't roll over. So I can't like save it for the next month or like have extra data just stored up. Not like the old rollover minutes and stuff. But for all of my limited data, I have unlimited talk and text. So I don't have to buy like minute cards. I don't have to deal with all of that stuff. It's unlimited talk and text. The only limitation is data. But yeah, I enjoy, I don't know if enjoy is the right word. I appreciate being able to afford to buy huge chunks of time covered for really low prices. Like, I used to be with Sprint before I switched to Mint, and like, yeah, I had to buy a new phone in order to get, well, it took some doing. I had to unlock because before I had an old phone, and I had to unlock my old phone in order to go to Mint Mobile, right? And like, but the thing was, even when I was getting the unlimited plan, the most expensive plan, i580 story. Not sure what story you're referring to. Was that something from my experience? I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Oh, I think I did have one of those. Yeah, it wasn't that one. Oh, it wasn't that one. I'd gotten a new phone. I had a smartphone. Yes. Now that I'm looking at the picture, I remember that. And they were like, this thing doesn't break, and I broke it. Yeah, that was a thing. I was with Sprint for a long time. And it's really funny because like, so when I've only ever had one phone number, right? I originally, when I got my first phone in high school, my family was on a family plan of Nextel. And then we were on this family plan. Then Nextel got bought by Sprint. And we were with Sprint. And then eventually when I started working and had some of my own money, I moved over to be on my own plan. So I moved off my parents' family plan to do my own thing because I was getting because I needed more data. I needed unlimited stuff because I was doing like some kind of entrepreneurship stuff, and I needed to be able to have unlimited minutes and unlimited data and all that stuff because I was using my personal phone for a lot of business stuff, right? And like that wasn't included in my family's plan. I didn't want my family to be paying extra just to facilitate my stuff, right? And I've been on that same plan with Sprint for years, for over a decade, right? And they just kept raising, like prices went up, and it just got real bad. It just got real bad, and they just kept harassing me, and at some point I was like, hey, they weren't harassing me. No, that's not true. It felt oppressive having to shell out that much money every month just to have my phone. And whenever I was having trouble with money, it was just really hard. Then I found out about Mint Mobile. I found out my phone could go for Mint Mobile. And I was really nervous about what it would mean paying off my account and leaving Sprint, right? But I did the math and I realized, because there was a deal for joining Mint at the time to like buy 6 months and get 6 months free. And I realized that like even with the extra of paying off my entire phone and my entire plan with Sprint in order to get them to unlock my phone, that I would pay with that deal to get a year's worth of phone coverage with unlimited data, because I had the unlimited data plan, equivalent to like a month and a half or 2 months of my Sprint plan. And I was like, I got to do it. I got to do it. And I did. And I haven't looked back with Mint Mobile. And it's been a thing where like, as my finances have just dwindled and been really, really rough, I had unlimited, but like I switched from unlimited data to the limited data. And now what I was paying for 3 months of coverage, I am now paying for 6 months of coverage. And that's equivalent to what I used to be paying for 1 month of Sprint coverage. So it's like what I used to pay for 1 month of Sprint coverage now gets me 6 months of Mint coverage. Well, it was getting me 3 months of Mint Unlimited, but now it's getting me 6 months of Mint 5 gigabyte data. But yeah, that was a thing. So I dealt with that today. And it's like money came in, money went back out. I'm now once again almost broke. And I ordered some food today because I didn't feel like cooking and I was just really tired from like doing stuff today. I ordered delivery. I got some orange tofu, which was different. I don't think I've had like orange flavored tofu in a long time. It was like I had the option to be like mild, hot, and extra hot, or mild, spicy, extra spicy or something. And I went for the spicy because I didn't want to like burn my mouth out, especially because I hadn't had it before. But now that I had it, I think the hot was just where I needed it to be, because it had a little bit of kick, this barest bit of kick. But it had this barest bit of kick, but it was pretty good. All right, it's going on 9 o'clock. let's get this party rolling. Let's get this party rolling. All right. Let me change playlists real quick. Let me change up from the lo-fi. I want to try the synthwave. I want to try the synthwave. I'm glad I can still mute the things. Okay. Let's go for some synthwave. Get started on tonight's stream. Okay. So, let me tell you about tonight's project. So it is NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writers Month. I found out it is writers, not writing month. To National Novel Writers Month. And daddy long leg spider looking thing just kind of sitting up on the ceiling as it was just moving up and down earlier. It's just kind of like staring at me. I think it's staring at me. Oh, my glasses. My glasses. It's just crawling. I'll leave it be. Sorry, I'm really distracted because there's this like white bead on the back end of this daddy long legs. I don't know if it's the back or the front, and I'm wondering if it's like carrying babies or something. Really bizarre. Anyway, let's focus. So, I have been on a Zoids hyperfixation recently. That is not news to anyone at all. And because of that, it came down to figure out what I was going to write, because I realized like a few days ago, like 3 days ago on the 1st, that it was about to be the first day of NaNoWriMo, and I had no idea what to write. I had nothing. I was like, what are we doing? Hold on, what is... Why is this so weird? Okay. Oh. Why is this so weird? There we go. That was really weird. So, let's go over the outline. So this is based, a lot of this stuff is based on the original battle story, some stuff from Chaotic Century, and a lot of stuff from the original story, but I'm taking some liberties and stretched out some stuff with the story. I managed to make an outline, and I want to share the outline of what we're going to be doing, introduce our characters, and then delve into writing the first chapter. I started trying to write the first chapter, but then I realized I was writing an info dump. And like, while you do need some info dump in order to create the setting, especially in a sci-fi story, right? Where you have to create the setting in the mind of your viewer, in the mind of your reader. And I don't want to be so lost in that it just becomes unreadable. That is not what I want to happen. Oh. Let me check something real quick. Not what I wanted. That's what I want. There we go. Let me see something real quick. All right, that's readable. Okay. All right. Let me adjust the brightness on this real quick. Not what I want. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yep. Okay. I wanted to make sure it was readable before I moved on. I was adjusting my color correction. Okay, so this is my outline. And I want to go over the outline before we get too far into things. That is not the button I wanted. Put that there. Put that there. Why did that get smaller? Why? Oh. Oh, that's why it was scaled so weird, because I had it on the wrong screen. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Got a little bit of scuff there. Just a touch. Okay. So, I had placement names. I just came up with the names, and I want to go over the basic gist of the story, of what's going to be happening in this story before we get started. I'm not going to break down chapter by chapter the whole 27 chapter outline, right? There is a couple things I wanted to change in here though, because I had some thoughts. Let me get to All right. Talking. Shot. Okay. Now that'll build tension. So I had to plot out everything, right? Just so I have a strong plot in order to know what I'm doing. And this is one I wanted to change. Okay, so this is when he calls. I just wanted to change this real quick. I'll explain in a second before I forget. Currently. So, there's a pretty interesting cast of characters here. Hold him. All right, there we go. Cool. I wanted to put this here. So I'm all right. So basically, we're doing a Zoid story. So it's taking place on Zoids, and it's taking place during the time of the war between the Gylos Empire and the Helic Republic. That is currently fighting in the western continent of Europa. And Main character is in a town. I haven't named the town yet. I need to name the town. That was a hotly contested place until it suddenly wasn't. When the main character, I gotta put that in my notes as well. When the main character was about 10, the Empire moved in and took over the place from the Republic. Then, when the main character was 20, 10 years later, the Republic came back and took over the base. And in that intervening time, the main character had started working, doing some civilian work as a warehouse worker, and he at the time, the main character had married this Empire scientist who was doing environmental research and stuff about wild zoids and all that stuff, right? And whenever the Republic came back to take over the base, he'd only been married a couple years because he got married when he was 18, right? And his wife told him, hey, I'm loyal to the Empire. I work for the Empire. And right now, with the Republic coming in, the Republic will be here within a matter of days. We have to evacuate. Come with me. And we can build a new life in Gygalos, the current capital of the Empire, right? On this continent. And the main character had lived in this town his entire life, right? He lived in his town this entire life. His family had been here for generations, right? He could not fathom leaving behind everyone he'd known and loved. So he said he couldn't do it. So she gave him back the ring and she said, okay, do what you got to do. I understand. This is goodbye. And then the story picks up 15 years later. Main character is now a member of a militia that's dealing with local defenses, and due to the collapsing ecosystem, which is a common theme in here, is the collapse of the ecosystem. This base has become just very difficult to live in. Well, this town has become very difficult to live in. A lot of people have moved away, and nobody really fights for it anymore. But main character is doing a patrol because there's been an earthquake recently, and main character is taking his trusty Godos named Godo. Original name, I know. And examining the remains of the old Empire base, because he knows that homeless people sometimes squat in those buildings in order to take shelter, and those buildings have been out of use for 15 years. So with no maintenance and stuff having been done on them, anything could happen, and he's just going to go see. He's been assigned to go see if anybody's been hurt, if any of the buildings collapsed, and all that stuff, right? He finds a building that has collapsed and shows signs that there were people living in it. So he starts using his Godos to clear the rubble, to dig through the rubble. And what he finds is a passageway that's been uncovered by the earthquake, that leads down into a basement, and he follows that down into the basement. Now he can't take his Zoid, so he has to go down on foot. And when he gets down there, he finds a vat that contains a wild Zoid. not a combat Zoid, an actual like grown wild Zoid. And this is huge. Because he knows, because it's been in the news a bunch, that wild Zoids have been extinct for like completely extinct for at least a decade. They've been endangered for a while, but they have been declared officially extinct for about a decade at this point. And the ecosystem is steadily starting to crumble and fall apart without the wild Zoids and the role they play in the ecosystem. And it's been all in the news. There's all this public outcry about like you all were so focused on getting weapons of war and harvesting Zoid cores in order to power your war machines that you didn't think about sustainability. You didn't think about maintaining the wild Zoid population. You just took for granted that there would always be wild Zoids to harvest, and now there's no more wild Zoids left. You have to the only way to produce the Zoid cores is through cloning existing Zoid cores, but you can't get any new ones. This is absolute nightmare, right? So he knows about that, and he finds the wild Zoid, and he takes out his personal he takes out a storage device, a spare hard drive he has in his I'm not sure if I'd have it on his person or if he runs up to the Godos to get it, but or maybe he just ejects a hard drive in order to take with him. And he accesses the computer, and when he goes to access the computer, it needs a passcode. And having been married, he remembers his ex-wife's passcode. It's been 15 years since they split, but he still remembers her passcode because and then this is where we start getting into the fact that he regrets that he didn't go with her, right? And that's a big theme, is that like he made this choice and like he regrets it, but like what's he gonna do with that? As he messes with the system, it sends off a signal that he doesn't know about, and it triggers some kind of an alarm that releases the wild Zoid from the test tube that it's being grown in, and wild Zoid imprints on him, and they make a mental, and they're like mentally telepathically connected. Now, this is one of the places where I start taking some artistic liberties, because being telepathically linked to your Zoid is not normally a thing in Zoid's canon. Like, there are things of like knowing what your Zoid means, and some characters are said to like be able to communicate with Zoids because they're so connected to them, but like actually being like telepathically linked to a specific Zoid, as far as I know, is not actually a thing. And I'm having fun with that. I'm having fun with that that whole procedure. And he goes to he gets the wild Zoid out of the ruins. He copies down the data somehow. Actually, I might have him not copy down the data, because like he would have nothing to copy it down on, except for his phone, which I could say his phone counts as a storage device where he copied the data down on it. Yeah, that could work. Yeah. And so when he hands over a copy of the data, he doesn't tell them that he made a copy for himself. But when he hands over the data and he hands over the wild Zoid, they tell him that he's not going to have to worry about the telepathic connection for long. And implied to him that it'll be a temporary thing. And then what follows is he gets hunted by these bad guys that like are trying to kill him, and the wild Zoid warns him, and then he like escapes the base, steals his Zoid, breaks free the wild Zoid, and then leads the wild Zoid into the wilderness to get away, to spring for it. And in a later chapter, when he tries to go back to the town to get stuff, to get supplies, to figure out what's going on, he finds out that the entire town has turned on him. No one believes him. No one wants to listen to him. No one is willing to hear his side of the story. Everyone just believes the official line that he's gone berserk and that he's on some kind of a rampage and that he's doing some kind of like terrorist actions and stuff, right? And he realizes there's nothing left for him in this town. And he finds out that his ex-wife is preparing for him to get there, and is like, if you can get that wild Zoid to me, I can complete my research and save the ecosystem of Planet Z through repopulating the world with wild Zoids. And then what begins is this long trek over a mountain range and through a heavily forested area in order to get to Gygalos. Fighting off enemies. At first he's fighting off enemies from the Republic. Then he starts fighting off enemies from the Empire. And he captures one of the enemy soldiers who's a woman that travels with him, and because he has her captured, he doesn't want to kill her, and she tells him about this evil organization, the UNW, the ugly necessity of war, that they're the villains, right? And the UNW believe that the natural state of humanity on Z is warfare, is conflict, and that that there will always be some kind of war or conflict on the surface of Planet Z, and that there will always be fighting, and they try to minimize the loss of life by maintaining the status quo of a never-ending war between the two large nations, the Helic Republic and the Gygalos Empire, and maintaining this never-ending war. And they're convinced that if the war ends, right, that without the threat of war, all of the small states and villages and communities that make up each of the two major nations will rebel, because they no longer need the protection of their central government. Since they no longer need the protection of their central government, that he believes that all these states will rebel, and that the two large nations will break down into a multitude of smaller states and territories that will be constantly at war with each other, and that the number of the loss of life and the destruction caused by this now amped up warfare that would be small scale skirmishes across the globe would be catastrophic and lead to the destruction of society as they know it. So that's what the bad guys believe, right? Which, from their perspective, it kind of makes sense, right? Because I wanted the bad guys to make sense. They believe that because of how much public outcry there is about the extinction of the wild zoids, and because of how easily the public is swayed by buzzwords like environmentalism, that if one side were to publicize that they have a wild zoid and a way to duplicate new wild zoids in order to reintroduce wild zoids to the environment, that they could use that to negotiate an unfair terms of a treaty that would be very much in their favor and not be sustainable, and it would lead to a short-term peace in order to share that technology and work towards spreading wild zoids back into the ecosystem, which yay, save the ecosystem. But those unfair terms would accelerate that destruction of the two major nations and lead to an implosion of their society. So they want him to stop because they care more about maintaining the status quo, maintaining their society, and all of these things that they consider necessary for society than they care about repairing the ecosystem, repairing the environment. They don't really care. They figure somebody will figure it out. But I haven't really written what they really feel about it. But the long and short of it is, they just don't care. Let me put a couple notes down. I think I put that into really good words, and I want to write that down, because sometimes it's like talking about something that you get a really good explanation, and like actually talking out. It's called, my partner was telling about it. It's called like the rubber duck method, where if you have to explain something in plain words to someone who doesn't understand, or like a rubber duck or a piece or an inanimate object, it leads to really good working out stuff. And I think I worked out a lot of some specific stuff I wanted to express in the story while I was doing that explanation. So I want to get that down. Oh, she's playing D&D? Cool. How did you find Nabiru? Oh, you still use Skype? Nice. Oh, Pathfinder. Okay. Okay. That's what the bad guys believe. They believe they don't care about the environment. And they consider that. Actually, I don't know what they would consider it. It's like they don't care about the environment. And I wanted to mirror some of the ways that, like, in our own lives, megacorps and organizations don't care about the environment if they don't have to. They just act like this detached thing, like, oh, that's somebody else's problem, as if we all aren't living on the same planet. How do you say else's? Eternal War. Okay. Okay. About a decade ago. Okay, cool. Okay, so now let me put this down in order to define this. Okay, so now let me. Okay, we are gonna say. I'm gonna come up with my own calendar that's gonna be similar to the Zoid calendar, but we're gonna say it takes place in 2110. Which might be kind of weird for the setting. Because there's a lot of stuff in the Zoid's battle story setting, but not everything's making it over to this world. Okay. So if it's 2110. Why can I not spell today? Nope. $21.10. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, let's create a timeline real quick so I have an understanding of how this goes. Okay. 15 years in the past, which would be 1995, because 5 makes it 10. And then... No, wait. $20.95. There we go. And 10 years before that, everything before that, not relevant. But yeah, so then what follows is this whole thing of the main character traveling across this mountain range on this epic journey to deliver this wild Zoid and having to fight all these threats. And then there's this twist that's kind of funny because, like, for anyone who knows Zoid's lore, who's like deep into Zoid's lore, it's not a surprise to them, right? But like for most everybody, it's going to be a surprise. And there's this twist that Zoids reproduce by budding. Wild Zoids, over the course of their life, their core, that is both their central nervous system and essentially their digestive system, will grow 2 to 3 new cores. And then when the Zoid dies, the new cores will find their way out of the body and then get to some source of metal and nutrients, whether it be the metal rich seas of Z or some metal vein or something underground, they will get somewhere where they can absorb metals and nutrients and use that to build their Zoid body, and then that's how they develop. So in order for a Zoid to reproduce, it has to die in order to release the cores that are growing inside of its body. And the main character finds this out like halfway through the novel. And he has been befriending this Zoid that he has this mental link to, right? And he has been watching this Zoid play and frolic. It has become his best friend. And now he finds out that he is delivering this Zoid to its death. And it breaks him. It absolutely breaks him to find out that he is delivering this Zoid to its death. And that's a little Easter egg that I wanted to throw in there. That's this plot twist. Because the main character, with Zoids having been endangered for most of his life, right? The main character is 35. When he was roughly 25 years old, the last wild Zoids were hunted or died out due to environmental collapse. So, like 10 years ago, wild Zoids just weren't a thing. And before that, they were endangered and they were just hunted in order to harvest their cores in order to make cheap weapons. And his public school education in this small town in the middle of nowhere didn't really teach him anything about Zoid reproduction. Okay. I want to stop the main character because they believe that due to public outcry surrounding the... Oh my gosh. Accelerate. Two major nations. That's why they want to stop him, is because they believe that it's going to accelerate the destruction of everything. And save real quick. Okay. All right, so that's that. That's the bad guys. Um. Okay, there we go. Cool. So now I have a basic timeline of everything that takes place before the start of the story. I have what the main character was doing in the past. Okay. Bonfighter. Okay, and the last organization that I need to describe is the Dawn Fighters, which is an eco-terrorist group that the main character interacts with in the last act. I want to set them up early. So let's explain them. Logging camps. They play a fairly minor role. They're only really active in the last act, but I just wanted to define who they are and what they do. Okay. So they're not exactly good guys, but like they are a rebel group. So I wanted to define them. Okay. With that said, Chapter 1, Block 1, Act 1, Block 1, Chapter 1. I want to set up the world, introduce the war, the main character, the fact that wild Zoids are extinct, explain that coining, even with cloning some Zoid cores, some types of Zoids have been lost when all of one kind were destroyed in different disasters or battles across Z, which is why the main character is piloting his trusty Godos. An easily mass-produced Zoid that is easy to find parts for. Explain about the history of the base. And some of the stuff that happened there. Okay, this is the part I wanted to do. True. Okay, that was another thing I wanted to do. So he's been piloting this Godos for 15 years. Okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. Outstanding. So wild Zoids are gone, food chains collapsing, the fungus that used to break down their bodies are starving for metal. The metals leaching into the oceans are rising. So the environment is essentially collapsing steadily. Okay. So it's kind of an environmental story. It's kind of an environmental story meets it's like environmental meets this kind of love story, and then there's this whole thing that main character is having to work with his ex-wife that he essentially left, right? And he wonders about if like he's regretted walking away from her every day since she left, right? And he finds out she's married with a couple kids. And then every time he calls to talk to her, he's calling when she's busy with something else and her husband has the phone and is supposed to be taking messages for her. And he has these interactions with the husband. That's just a reminder of, you know, the path he didn't take. And by the end of the story, he finally makes peace with it. And he says, listen, I understand that you are in a healthy relationship, that you're happy. I'm not trying to ruin that. I would be happy to just be your friend. But then like the last line of the story, right, is like the husband walks in and is like, I know you, because this is like right after the wife has said, I don't know what to do. I never got over you. I still care about you, but I love my husband. He's a good man. And like, I can't do this to him. We have kids, we have life. And so that's what she's expressing. Right. And then main character's like, I get it. I understand. And then the husband walks in and is like, you know, it doesn't have to be that complicated. And then that's where we're going to end. And then in the epilogue, you find out that they start trying to make it work, to try to make a really non-standard relationship work and build a healthy throuple. But that is all relegated to the epilogue. Okay. Jeffrey Wooden. Gigalos. Okay, cool. All right. I thought I had the outline nailed down, but then I had some other things I wanted to put down. Just to like nail down some of the themes. And the stuff about the organizations. Like, hey Autumn, I was originally planning to get started writing tonight, and like I was hoping to already be partway through chapter 1 right now. But then I started explaining for chat what my story is going to be about, right? And then like I started thinking and expanding on ideas, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a good idea. I should note that down." I wanted to note down all the things, and there's something about just talking about it. Just talking about your story that helps with like working out some logical problems, coming up with new explanations, new reasonings, and expanding on different situations. So I wanted to write all that down before I forgot it. And I did that, and I've been doing that for like an hour. I wanted to just quickly go over my outline and then get started on the chapter, but that just didn't happen. uh I like that better, where the bad guys don't care about the environment because they think of the environmental movement as like some buzzword that's a fad that's been spread via social media, and they're like, this is just gonna pass. This is like everybody's hopped up on this right now, and has been for the last few years after it was announced that all the wild Zoids had been hunted. But once once people move on, we're all just gonna move on with our lives. So for them, from their perspective, it's just not a problem. Okay, cool. All right. So let me show you. Now my current working name of the story is Metal Regrets. Um main character is racked with regret. And I'm finally using a name that I have wanted to use forever. Mout. It's like I'm pronouncing it Mout. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's the Arabic word for death. Not that I'm Arabic, and the character isn't Arabic because he's like in the future living on a alternate planet. But some pieces of Earth culture and languages have survived. So some of the names are like human words. Anyway, so that's that. I have a few paragraphs down to start everything, right? And like it starts as an information dump, which you kind of need in a sci-fi story. All right, Silva, good night. Thanks for coming, and I want you to know that I think that you're amazing. I want to, even though this is a Zoids fanfiction novel, I want to write this so that way it's readable by non-Zoids fans, that they don't have to have a background in the Zoids franchise to be able to keep up with what's happening in the story. But I want to reward readers who do have some kind of a background with little Easter eggs here and there. Okay. Okay. I think I like how this has gone so far. Now that I'm reading this, talking about like this first portion up here is like a pretty concise info dump. Okay, and I did this. I said that this one was ZX. Here, I made ZX 2100. Okay. Let me look up the difference between an environment and an ecosystem. Environment versus ecosystem. Okay. Environment refers to the surroundings, whereas ecosystem is the interaction between the environment and the living organisms. Okay, so I want ecosystems. So environment, well, both of them are falling apart because with the environment is the area where organisms live. Ecosystem is the community where biotic and abiotic elements interact with each other. Okay. So with the loss of the Zoid's ecosystem, the environment is dying. Okay, cool. Awesome. I'm so glad I can look stuff up. Protests. Blah. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Sorry, my roommate needed to talk to me about something. I think this explains everything. So we introduced the environment, introduced the whole thing about cloning, the fact that some Zoid cores have been lost, and we're introducing the two nations that they've been fighting for over a century. And introduce the Zoidians, introduce the Zoid cores. I think I introduced pretty much everything I wanted to introduce there. I gotta introduce the town. Gotta introduce the town. I need a name for the town. I need a name for the town. I hadn't thought of a name. Let me bring up a name generator. Fantasy name generators. All right. I'll use a random number generator since I don't have a lot of people in chat tonight. We'll do random number generator. First, we generate a number between 1 and 6 to see how many times I press the button. Press it 6 times. And I will choose the 8th one down. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Harnsey. Let me see if that's a name for everything. Well, there's Hornsey, but not Harnsey. It's a family name. It's someone's family name, so that's fine. So I'll just call it Harnsey Town. Okay. All right, cool. Harnsey Town. Okay. I thought it was funny. I converted the height metric Normally on Zoids, the height metric is told in meters. I converted it from meters to feet because I had to. uh... Um... It weighs 24 tons. Okay. This paragraph here, where it's talking about the stats of the Zoid, I want to like okay. So I wanted to do something visual. I don't know if I can find a more natural way to include that data. I want to have that data so that way the viewers know. I just got to write. I'll come back and I'll edit. I'll make it better later. Right now, I just have to get the words on the page. It's 10:30 and I have barely written any words in the actual chapter. They get us to town for environmental research. 2095. Oh wait, when did? Or 2085. Um, okay. Let me see. I don't want to reveal the stuff about his ex-wife till the end of Act 1. I want to hint at it, where his ex-wife, because that's the big plot twist in Chapter 8. Back on task. So we hinted the stuff with the wife. Abandoned to build a new one on the other side of town. Homeless people had moved out here to seek shelter. What would be another word for earthquake? Because they're not on Earth. I think they're from Earth, so they would probably have that term. You looked it up? Aftershock, foreshock. Huh. Might just say quake. Quaker. I think I might just do quake. Call it a ground quake. I'll call it a ground quake. I'll call it what it is. Yes, a duck trembler. Exactly. Quacker Quaker. Quack, 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 quack. Uh, moldy blue carpet. Kind of leading into what I wanted to do with chapter 2. Hmm. Okay. So he's ruminating as he's digging through uh So one of the themes here is that like, while humanity did bring animals when they came to Planet Z, they didn't bring an entire ecosystem with them. They didn't bring an entire food chain. They brought pets, they brought livestock, and they brought they brought pets, they brought livestock, and unfortunately, they also brought vermin and pests that had snuck aboard their ship whenever they came to this planet. And those invasive species, between that and like other plants, then flowers and crops that they'd brought that had spread out, have become invasive species across the planet as the ecosystem is falling apart, as the environment is falling apart. The ecosystem, they wreck that. Hello, Cookster, Crackerstein. How are you doing? How are you doing tonight? You're doing good? That's great. I'm doing pretty good. I got a slow start on tonight's stream. I might go a little bit later tonight just because I want to maybe get some more writing done. But we'll see. How much words have I gotten done so far? Oh yeah, I'm only halfway through what I want for the first chapter. I might have the first chapter be short. I might have the first chapter just be short. Yeah, this is the first chapter. So I'm working on my NaNoWriMo National Novel Writers Month project. And I've decided I'm going to do a fan fiction novel. Like, accepting, you know what, I'm not going to sell it, but I probably wasn't going to sell a regular novel anyway. And I've been really I've been really taken up with the Zoids fandom. I've been really like drawn in by that, and franchise, that's the word. So I've been doing that, and I was like, you know what, let's keep it rolling, because one of the things I find is that I find the most success whenever I take my motivation where I can find it and I run with it. I don't try to like force it to go somewhere. I just run with where I have motivation. So that's what I'm doing. Are you doing anything for NaNoWriMo, Cookster? So for the in case you don't know, so for National Novel Writer Month, there's this challenge to write an entire novel, like at least 50,000 words, get the entire first draft done in 30 days. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, the challenge is to try to get an entire like 50,000 words done in 30 days. But what's important is that you're making progress. So what's your story about, Cookster? Steampunk fantasy where the planet is always mutating around the characters. That's cool. This story I'm working on is kind of a it's a mecha story, so there's going to be giant robots, right? Because it's dealing with the Zoids franchise, which if you're not familiar with the Zoids franchise, it's a franchise of mechanical animals that are like giant robot animals that are piloted to fight, and the animals are alive, at least partially. And there's a lot of lore behind it, and it takes place on this planet, Planet Z. And for the setting for this, the driving plot point is that the wild Zoids, the ones that naturally occur on the planet, have been hunted to extinction so their parts can be used to make combat Zoids, which are artificially created bodies with Zoid cores. That's the organ that serves as their central nervous system and digestive tract, all rolled into one. That's like their power source and their control system, controlling these mechanical bodies in order to create weapons. And they can clone existing cores by splitting them and then force feeding them materials till they regrow more. But they can't get any new cores. And the main character is gonna find a wild Zoid that's been regrown in a test tube. That's my lore. Like in the actual lore, wild Zoids aren't actually extinct, but that's where I'm going with it for my fan fiction, because it's fan fiction. You take it and you run with it, right? And so the main character finds a wild Zoid, and he knows about it because his ex-wife used to do research on them. And he finds out that when his ex-wife left, she and some other scientists had left this. Yes, that's the fun of fan fiction, exactly. He finds out that his ex-wife and some of the other scientists, when they had fled the area because war, like the town got taken over by the other nation, and a lot of people had to flee. They left this experiment running to grow a new wild Zoid, and he finds it years after they've all left. And so he's like, what do I do with it? And she's like, deliver it to me, and I will, you know, complete this research and complete this stuff. And we'll save the environment that's currently collapsing. And there's this evil faction that doesn't want him to succeed, because they want there to be eternal war, because they believe that war is the natural state of humanity. And they believe that because society is so, like, the public is so easily swayed by buzzwords and social media, and the current thing that swayed the people is a wave of environmentalism in the wake of all the wild Zoids going extinct and their environment collapsing. So this evil organization is like, if you like bring back wild Zoids, because both sides of this war are going to want the wild Zoids, are going to want the technology to grow their own wild Zoids in order to save their environment and their community, that it's going to lead to a truce as they share, in order for them to share this technology. And the bad guys believe that the truce is only going to be temporary, because whoever has the wild Zoid is going to negotiate for unfair terms, and that's going to drive social unrest that's going to lead to rebellion, and the two large nations that make up the planet breaking apart into a multitude of small states that will all be warring with each other, and that now, instead of having one big war, there will be a multitude of tiny wars that will lead to the destruction of society as they know it. That's what the bad guys think. Because the entire bad guy theme is based on this idea that the natural state of humanity and the natural state of Zoids is to be at war, is to be in conflict, to be in combat. And that if they don't supply one big war for people to fight, people will find reasons to fight a multitude of smaller wars. So it deals into some kind of like political stuff, and it's got an undercurrent of environmentalism kind of running through it. I've outlined everything. I made a really strong I think it was a very strong outline. But I've outlined all the chapters. I just have to write them. Like, I did NaNoWriMo last year, and I completed it was a 58,000 word first draft. I never actually edited that, and I never published it. I wanted to do it by the end of the year, but that just didn't happen. But the only reason I was able to do it last year was because I had such a strong outline. I started late because I originally wasn't going to do it because I found out about it last year. And then I saw my friend doing it, and I'm like, now I want to do it. And so then I came up with an idea. I made an outline, and then I started late, but I finished late. It was still about 30 days that I managed to complete it. I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Even if I never published that, the fact that I completed it in about 30 days is huge for me. So I want to try doing that again. Hey, I'm hoping for you, Cookster. I'm rooting for you. just barely too small for Godo to fit, but a person should be able to fit just fine. Okay. So the main character's been ruminating about life and stuff as he's just like digging through this rubble to see if he finds any people buried in this collapsed building. Right? And then and he's distracted, but he gets knocked out of his revere after he's ruminating about life, about the world. And I'm using his ruminations as a way to act as exposition in order to like tell the reader about the world. Well, okay. Godo is the name of his mech. The main character's name is Maut. He's piloting a mechanical dinosaur that looks like a... Oh, it's fine. I think it's gonna be like... It's gonna take some doing. So I'm referring to Godo because he's piloting Godo, right? But it's Godo's claws that are digging through the rubble, even though it's Maut piloting Godo. Okay. So in this instance, Godo can't fit, the mech can't fit, but the pilot can. Normally I end stream about 11:30 EST, which is like in 15 minutes. I think I might go an extra 30 minutes because I spent so long working on my outline that like I got started a lot later than I wanted to. So I think I'll push through. Instead of ending at 11:30, I'll probably push through till about midnight EST. I know work until midnight as mine as well. I'm trying to hit 5K for the milestone. Oh, that's so great, Cookster. What's that called when you like are like searching around, turning around? Not it's not swinging. What's it called? Sweeping. Veer might work, but like when you're like you're sweeping swept the area as you're like looking left and right in order to check for things like searching. Normally when I write, I like to just use said instead of using like called, yelled, asked, because like I watched like this one video, like I like to, when I was first getting really involved in writing, I watched a lot of videos about like writing techniques and methods. And one of the things that one of the videos talked about was that like normally going into all of those like more colorful descriptions isn't like, it was popular, but it's not as popular with like modern writing. And a lot of times, and then what the person was saying was that a lot of times, if you go into all that like yelled, called, questioned, inquired, kind of stuff, it's gonna, since it's not, I guess, in vogue in popular fashion, it's just gonna seem outdated to an editor if you brought it to an editor. So I just started using said. And that just made it a lot simpler. But for this, I'm going all out. It's a fan fiction. So you know what? I'm gonna say called out. I'm gonna say inquired. I'm gonna say yelled. I'm gonna have fun with it. How many words am I up to so far? Just over 1,000 words. I normally like to do 2,000 word chapters. I normally like to do 2,000 word chapters just because it feels like that's enough to really express the ideas I'm going for. But that feels like it's enough to express the ideas I'm going for without going on too long. Yeah, gonna use the fun words. Also, I'm using an outline for 27 chapters. So I've outlined 27 chapters and an epilogue. So my thought is if each chapter is about 2,000 words, it comes out to about 54,000 words. Give or take some, because some chapters will be longer and some chapters will be shorter. But like, I normally don't want to end a chapter at like 1,000 words, but like, since this is the introductory chapter, I feel like, because I feel like I'm getting to the stuff that I want to happen in chapter 2. Yeah, on my Discord in the writer's corner, I put a link to this video that really describes it really well. That I found. I used it last year too. It's called the 27 part outline. And it helps with making a really strong outline of points that you want to hit as you're going. So I like using that one because it's really detailed. It really nails it down. Having a point for each chapter just really helps nailing it down. Attempting to save the cat method from mine. Honestly, I'm not sure if my story has a plot anymore since I left the plot station. Oh goodness, Cookster. Easier for people, not military secrets. Hey, as long as you know what you're doing, Cookster, that's what matters. And as long as you get there. He's here for people, not military secrets, and he's curious. Or to this point, even if it's just random things they're doing, that way I can learn how to write the characters better on the next draft. Yes, that's really important. One of the things I learned whenever I really delved into writing was that it is possible to edit bad writing into good writing. That is a thing that it is possible to edit, but you cannot edit a blank page. So sometimes you just have to get the words on the paper. Just get them out, get them on the paper, even if they're not great. Get them on the paper, get the story out of your head and onto paper, and then when you go back, you edit it later. And that's one of the things with NaNoWriMo is you have to throw everything to the winds and just get words on paper. Which is why it helped me so much to have a strong outline. Yep, exactly, Cookster. Mm-hmm. All right. Can probably delve a little bit more. I might actually hit like 1,500 words actually for this chapter, which is pretty good. That's pretty good for me. Thank you, Cookster. Illuminate things. Okay. What did I name that character? This is why I'm glad I put all of the Elizabeth. Okay. Excuse me. All right, I think that's where I want to end that chapter. How many words did that come out to? 16, 17, 16, 16 words. Okay. That's funny. All right, so it's a little bit more than 1,000, and it ends on this like really, it ends on this really intense moment where the main character, so there's this thing that gets introduced earlier in the chapter. Where it explains that the wild Zoids have gone extinct. And now the main character is finding a wild Zoid in a test tube. Which that's like this huge thing, like, hold on, wait a minute. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so the whole thing is he finds out that, well, you introduce to the viewer at the beginning of the chapter that wild Zoids have gone extinct, and it caused this huge political unrest, and the environment is falling apart. Because this crucial piece of the environment has been removed, right? Has been totally removed. So the environment is collapsing. And then you end with this like revealing moment where the main character suddenly actually I want to space that differently. For emphasis, this was a wild Zoid. They had grown a wild Zoid. But yeah, that's chapter 1 done. 1,600 words. after all of the, actually, how much? Uh, so like a lot of the stuff above that I'd already done, but like this is all new stuff. About 1,000 words. Okay. So I wrote in here about like 11 to 1,200 words tonight. Not my best night, but like considering how long I spent working on the outline, I think that's a pretty good night. I might come back and do more stuff later. We'll see. Made a lot of progress. Yeah, I think I like how this came out. Cool. All right, let's go over to the just chatting screen and kind of just hang out for a little bit. Thanks, Cookster. It's nice having you here for stream. It's been great having you. I wish you all the best. Because you said you were doing like a steampunk thing with a planet that mutates, right? Steampunk fantasy with a planet is always mutating around the characters. I remember you said that. That's really cool. Let's see if there's any cool stuff. Sort of like Kipo in the Age of Wonder Beast meets Skull Island. I'm not familiar with Kipo in the Age of Wonder Beasts, but I'm familiar with Skull Island. That's where King Kong is. All right. All right. Aw. My friend just posted on Twitter that they're having a rough time. Give me just a second. It's sort of like an apocalypse where mutes rule the earth and humans are a rarity. Ooh. Is your main character human or a mutant? I think only have one human character, but they're not in the book for a while. Oh, okay. So your main... Ooh, that's interesting. So your main cast deals with like, is there a single main character, or is it like an ensemble cast? Four-armed elf. That sounds really cool. Mostly ensemble so far, but 4 as the main focus. Okay. I think if you have an ensemble cast, you need a good amount of, like, at most like 4 or 5 characters for the story to really focus on. Like, I remember I was watching this anime 86, and it's a great anime, but it can be kind of like triggering and traumatic. It deals with a lot of death. And like in the beginning there was this huge cast of characters, right? But like because characters kept getting killed off and then stuff just kept happening, it got whittled down until it was down to, like, I think it was like 4, maybe 5 characters as the main characters. And like, might have been 6. It's been a while since I watched it, but it was this small handful of characters. And like, after it got whittled down to them, then they became the focus and got a lot of character development. But the thing is, the show spent so much time on developing all the other characters that got killed off, that like you felt every death, and it made the show so intense and emotional. Yeah, it dealt with war and with a lot of things. It's a mecha show. It deals with a lot of stuff. Like it takes a lot of the tropes you'd expect from a mech show and like kind of turns them on their head slightly, but it's really like this hyper realistic view of warfare. Ready. So I'm wondering, with your story, Cookster, with like the mutations and like the like steampunk stuff, do you have airships? You just talked about it being some kind of like steampunk fantasy, and I'm just curious if you have airships. One of my first stories that I started working on dealt with airships, and I got like partway through it, but I realized I was writing about a lot of stuff I didn't understand. I tried to go back and rewrite it in order to make it better, and I got partway through the rewrite. Because like in my first draft, I got up to like 30,000 words, like 30 or 40,000 words. But I realized I wasn't anywhere near the end, and I had been in this meandering thing, and it just wasn't, it was just, I'd lost the plot somewhere. So then I went back, tried rewriting it, and I realized I still didn't, I still didn't have any information about the things that I was writing about. and it was really showing in my writing, and I was very discouraged. And I keep picking that project back up and learning a little bit more, and I'm wondering if maybe one of these days I might actually finish it. Yeah. But I was just curious because that story focused around airships and political drama. I got so lost in the political drama that when I was writing it on stream and I got to an airship scene, one of my viewers was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot there were airships in this," and I'm like, "That's when I know I'm doing something wrong." When I'm writing well, it's not in the Zoids universe. It's in a different. It's in its own original thing. And it was one of the first big writing projects I did. And like I got a lot of words down and I just never finished it. All right. All right. Oh my gosh, this meme, I always see this meme and it cracks me up every time. It's not related to writing. But it always cracks me up. Let me get it. I'm sure I probably already have the meme, but I'm still saving it because I don't feel like finding it. Born too late to buy a home. Born too soon to explore space. Probably should be too early, but I guess soon works there too. Born just in time to finance a pizza from Domino's. It's so silly. It's so very silly. Oh, let's see so many. Oh my gosh, so many silly memes. I'm glad you got some work done. I'm actually about to do my outro because it's getting to be that time. So, for those of you who don't know, at the end of my streams, I like to say positive things about my viewers and speak good, positive things and good vibes and hopeful intentions into everybody's lives. I like to say all the things that I believe, hope, and dream for all of my viewers, because I believe that it helps for all of us to speak positivity into each other's lives and to try to be a source of goodness for each other. Let me scroll up and see who was in chat today. To Silva, to Autumn, to Cookster, to anyone else who watches, who watched the stream and didn't say anything in chat, and to anyone who watches this VOD afterwards, I want to say, I love all of you, and I believe in each and every one of you. I think that each one of you is a truly special, one-of-a-kind, and unique individual, and I believe that each one of you makes this world a better place just by being in it. I'm grateful every day to live in a world with you in it, and I am so happy that you give me your time, your energy, and your attention. I am so grateful that you are a member of this community and that you help make my life and the lives of other people better by being in it, by contributing, and by being who you are and the kind of person that only you can be. I hope that you always remember the Star Hunter motto: shoot for the stars, have wonderful adventures, live your dreams, and always stop to enjoy the memes. And if you want it, one thing I do ask is that you like the stream. It helps the algorithm with pushing it out. If you have any friends, neighbors, relatives, cousins, aunts, uncles, coworkers, arch nemesis, whatever that you think might enjoy my content, feel free to invite them to the next stream or show them any of my content. Next stream is going to be Monday, 8:30 p.m. EST. Oh, you're welcome, Cookster. Next stream is going to be Monday, 8:30 p.m. EST. We'll see what I'm doing. It might be another writing stream. It might be a gaming stream. I don't know. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, you can subscribe and ding the notification bell to let you know whenever I go live and when I release any new content. If you want to get to know what I'm doing outside of YouTube, you can follow me on X or Twitter or join my Discord. Links to both of those are in the description down below. I usually post on Twitter or X or whatever before I go live. Usually like 30 to 45 minutes before I go live, I'll post whatever I'm doing so people will know what the stream's going to be about. But streams are normally Mondays and Fridays, 8:30 p.m. EST, usually goes to about 11:30 p.m. EST. We ran a little bit late tonight because I just kind of got lost in the sauce, and it's my first real writing stream for a while. My last writing stream was a writing challenge stream where I tried to write a short story. This is getting right back to my roots of novel writing. So that was definitely its own challenge. I think we made a lot of progress today. We did really great. And also, I always want people to know that I do not expect people to donate. No one should ever feel obligated to give money to be a part of the community. You shouldn't feel that you are required to donate to be welcome. But with that said, if anyone ever feels motivated to donate and is in a position where they are capable and able to, I would be very grateful, and I'm very grateful to all the people who have donated in the past and made things possible in my life. And I'm grateful to the community that has helped me do so many things. And there are links where you can donate down in the description below if you ever should feel so inclined. Next stream is going to be Monday, 8:30 p.m. EST. I cannot wait to see all of you there. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and that you do really amazing stuff and you get to eat really amazing food. Good night, everybody.